Welcome to A Simple Life. Let's wrap up the last year. We started the year out with me doing the blackberry bramble. I never showed this footage. Matter of fact, I also didn't show this next bit of footage with me starting to clear the pig pasture out with the excavator. Partly because I was just trying to figure out how to film, what it looked like, what was going to be entertaining, also what the whole channel was going to be like. Then we got working on the driveway. The driveway was the first big project that we worked on, and man, it was a big undertaking. It also was where I really kind of fell into a rhythm of starting to film, figuring out how to film. I screwed up all kinds of great shots when taking down trees, all kinds of stuff. But there was such a huge learning experience. And not only was it a learning experience for me, it became a learning experience for me and the boys, because that was really what set up the rest of the summer. It really allowed me and the boys to get into a rhythm of how we worked. We never did get gravel on the road, so right now it's a bit of a muddy, soupy mess, but underneath is all the old gravel from years and years of Herman putting it down. So it's not going anywhere. We've had a little bit of dirt slide down, but nothing that a few passes with the dozer can't fix. Then we got all the logs out of there, and actually most of those are either firewood or mill logs already. We ended up working on the dozer because we were gonna need it, but it turns out Clay had no faith in me. Okay, so we're going to get the dozer. I think it's a 1954, 58, something like that. An old International Harvester. And it runs. I ran it last winter and pulled a bunch of logs and stuff with it. And this is her.
This will run, I promise you. Until tomorrow, probably.
Then we started working on the old house. The old house had to come down. But before we could do that, I ended up pulling out this massive beehive. It was so cool to see. It was really the first time that I worked with bees this close when it came to capturing them. I have beehives up there, but this was the first time that I was like, okay, I guess I'm on my own. I'm figuring things out, and I managed to find the queen. That was such a great moment for me, because it went from, I don't know if I'm going to be able to save this hive because I don't know where the queen is, to I have the queen, we can save this hive. Following getting that hive out, I helped Herman get his garden going. You know, Herman has a really hard time getting down on his knees and planting his onions or his lettuce or whatever he's going to plant. So not only did I till his garden up for him, I made sure I planted his onions, covered them with soil, we watered them in, put a little fertilizer in there as well, and he was happy. The garden didn't all turn out this year. His potatoes, because we had a really long spring, ended up actually rotting in the ground for the first time ever. He was really disappointed, but you can see some of his lettuce was already going. Then when Herman was on vacation, I ended up getting his house torn down. I did it while he was on vacation because, like I'd said in the videos, I don't know if I had the heart to tear it down when he was sitting there watching me do it. There's just something about tearing a man's house down. Even though Herman knew it needed to go, he didn't care about anything else that was inside of there. It just was hard because, well, it was his house for like, I don't know, 55 years or so. For the last 10 years, he's been living in his little cabin. I tried to save as many of the antiques and little things that I could. I literally dug through that house completely. I turned everything over to make sure I got every single family photo, anything of any value I got out for him before we tore it down. And that was another big milestone because I had to do it for the insurance. That's what it really came down to. The insurance company asked me to tear it down within the first year I owned the place. I had started it, but I didn't complete it until a little over a year. They didn't mind too badly because I have a record of working with them and doing the right thing. Next, we got onto the old cellar house and we started getting that prepped to turn it into a cooler. Not quite done on that project yet. There's been a lot to do this year, but we got the roof tore off right here, which I couldn't believe it came off like this without wrecking something. I was pretty concerned I was going to end up wrecking a wall. But it came right off. We plopped it down over there and we ended up putting it on the back of the dump truck. Then we went and we got the supplies. We got all the insulation we were going to need for the cooler. We got all the concrete. We got the extra stones. We got a couple pieces of lumber. We got it all unloaded, stacked up, set up for the future for doing the project as we need it. And then we poured the concrete. The boys and I had a blast that day. That was probably the first time that the boys and I just synced up. And it was like, oh yeah, we all have our jobs. We know what we're doing. We're just going to get it done. And to this day, the boys love the fact that on the back side of that slab, it says, Cal, Clint and Clay, 2022, the Lost Boys. Like I've said, I often refer to us as the Lost Boys when we go up there because it's a little bit like we're in our own world. There's nothing around, really. It's pretty isolated, except for me and the boys, our work, our friendship, and our love for each other. And boy, those two boys, they fight like brothers and they love like brothers. It's incredible to see them grow together. This is the first time the boys built with me. They've seen me build, but this is the first time they really sat down and were able to build with me. We ended up building this little fence around this old well, mostly because I didn't want my calves falling in, goofing off. You know how calves can be. They can be goofy. So we built this around there. It ended up working really good. We still need to get electronic pump set up, so we're not doing the manual pump because that manual pump did not work. Then, excitement out of excitement, because we move the cows all the time and we spend time with them. We had lost a heifer to a back injury, and we ended up getting a new heifer, and the boys loved it. And not only that, she was pregnant. And when she gave birth to a beautiful little heifer. After that, we ended up moving the cows from the summer pasture, which is the back pasture that you were just seeing them in, to the main pastures. And then we started our rotation around our main pastures and strip grazing them through that. Our main pastures, because we cut hay this year for the last time, they were a little short when it came to stockpile. It's okay. I have access to feed for them. They have access. And when it's time, I give them haylage from a neighbor of mine that grows it. He doesn't put anything except for cow manure out there. And just like the cows, we move them all the time. We try to keep them moving as much as possible. Here's the pigs that were up at Herman's. And these guys we put in Herman's old hoop house. This hoop house is actually going to be used for something else in the future. I mean, it's still going to be a hoop house. But we let the pigs go through and clear it all out, till it all up. They did a great job. They did such a good job. Herman asked me when I was going to plant a garden in there. Speaking of moving the pigs, these are the pigs that we had down at our place. 3 of those little guys are going to be going up to Herman's this spring. But for now, they'll stay down there and till up the ground for me and do good work. Then Autumn had her babies. And for Clint, it was excitement and sadness at the same time. So as we know, the golden pig didn't make it through the night. I may have been able to help that. I probably made the wrong decision not bringing it inside that night. But you live and learn. I thought he was good after sitting there with him for about an hour, getting him settled in with Mom. But I was wrong. It's kind of part of making decisions. Sometimes you're just plumb wrong. With any harvest season comes harvesting both animals, fruits, and vegetables. We ended up harvesting 5 pigs this year. A couple got sold, a bunch went in the freezer, some got given away. Then we harvested marionberries. Oh, Christine is still making marionberry pies and cobblers. They're so stinking good. The trick to marionberries is you freeze them on a pan, so when you put them in a bag or vacuum seal them, they don't stick together. Then we made grape juice. Oh, a little less than 50 gallons of grape juice was made, and that was delicious. One of the things we did for almost half the summer was firewood. I know, everybody saw plenty of firewood. I'll make it short. You know what we do with firewood? We stay warm in the winter. We were also able to bless a neighbor, which was really great. And you know what? The boys learned such an amazing lesson with that. That ended up rounding up what we did in 2022. I don't know what we're going to do this coming year, but thank you for joining us.